and gentlemen of the media, good morning. Welcome down to Congress Place, Sophia, for the press conference for the People's National Congress Reform today. I'm happy to see so many of you out here today, and I'm certain that there are a number of searching questions that will come. But before that, I would like to introduce Rear Admiral retired Gary Bess, Central Executive Committee member of the People's National Congress Reform, that will be reading today's prepared statement.
Thank you, Ryan. Press statement by People's National Congress Reform. Guyanese, let us stand resolute with our President, His Excellency David Granger. Despite widespread allegations of foul play and bribery around the no-confidence vote, which was supported by notorious and dishonest Charandas Prasad on the 24th of December 2018, President Granger expeditiously appointed the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission so that the preparations of elections would not be delayed. It was the People's Progressive Party, Civic, PPC, that challenged Justice Patterson's appointment and further caused the delay to our elections. Justice Claudette Singh was appointed much to the satisfaction of all, including the leader of the opposition, and now that she has guided His Excellency on the Commission's preparedness for credible elections, the PPC is upset and returning to their dishonest practices. Irfan Ali and his PPP cronies are determined to force an election now on their list, which is invalid and dishonest. It is bloated by as many as 200,000 people, making it susceptible to voter fraud. This is the PPP's only hope of coming back to power through lies and dishonesty. This will only give the people of Guyana a dishonest government. The dishonest Irfan Ali's only hope of coming to power. We have already been witness to the PPP's attacks and tactics to manipulate elections outcomes on a list like this through multiple voting and phantom voting. We cannot allow our democracy to be held hostage by cheap tricks, dishonest tactics, and outright voter fraud, all designed to bring back a dishonest party and the people voted out of power not even 4 years ago. Here in Guyana, our president is guided by the law and order and respect for the Constitution. He has displayed professionalism throughout his 4 years in office, and under his honest leadership, our country is moving in the right direction after 23 years of PPC government and stagnation. We are cracking down on crime. We are transforming our education system. We are building and maintaining infrastructure. We have cleaned up the streets of our cities. And finally, unity is bringing Guyanese together. Now, Irfan Ali and his PPP want to drag Guyana back to the dark days of the past. The PPP's presidential candidate is facing 19 charges and has still not proven his educational qualifications. This is an indication of the PPP's total lack of commitment to honesty, good governance, and the rule of law. We have, however, respected the rule of law, the integrity of the Constitution, and we are set to hold a credible election as soon as possible. We in the PNCR call on the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association, GYSM, and its members to condemn the act of clear and present danger by some of its members. We urge all business and citizens to condemn the act of treachery foisted on the President at the GMSA event. We are confident the police force will act to protect the President, citizens, business places, visiting tourists, and the public from the wanton disregard of Irfan Ali, Bara Jagdeo, and the 150 misguided protesters. It is a true sign of progress that under this administration, no protester has been harmed during our 4 years in office. We have protested as the PNCR and the APNU, and we have faced water cannons, unidentified officers dressed in police uniforms, shooting into crowds in Linden, and shooting at protesters indiscriminately. This is the progress people voted for, and a clear sign of change. We urge that the social media platforms be cautious of tensions within the country, and we would encourage users to be mindful of hateful and insightful comments. Do not attack, but set the record straight on the coalition's record in office. Following yesterday's announcement by GYSM, we are confident in the next elections. The next elections are a choice for people to continue along this path of progress with honest leadership and a vision for Guyana's oil wealth that will benefit all Guyanese through jobs, better salaries and standards of living, and safer communities, or to return to the dishonest ways of the past under the People's Progressive Party. That ends the PNC's statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we had the prepared statement of the People's National Congress Reform at this time. And as is customary, we will open the floor to questions. We have the audio technician stand by with a microphone. We're asking that you kindly identify yourself and the media house that you represent, and then proceed to ask the questions or questions that you would like to ask.
Good morning, sir. Chevy Duffin, Istanbul News. Just 3 questions. 1, could you say whether you have submitted your declarations to the Integrity Commission? 2, could you say why exactly you're referring to the protest action as an act of treachery? And do you agree with the President's characterization of it being hooliganism? And given the CCJ's determination that GYSM is not in a normal election year, do you still stand by your statement that the insistence that normal practices be followed, notwithstanding the fact that elections were required in the context of the no confidence motion?
Just to clarify, the first question, declarations for the Integrity Commission, that was the rear end.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
What's the question?
Actually, you're required to make a declaration as a matter of statute by operation of law by virtue of your position as a public officer. As such, it is not as much a personal matter as it is a national matter, given that it is declared by statute.
Well, thank you for your question. First answer that I'm not a public officer. I'm not on the public payroll, so I don't have to make a declaration. When I was head of the Defense Force, I made declarations every year. But at the moment, I'm not a public officer on the public payroll, so I don't require to make a declaration. Your next question spoke about white treachery. The party's position is that the President was invited to the GMSA event, and the outcome of the event and the antics by the People's Progressive Party suggests to us with in unclear terms, in clearest of terms rather, that this was something orchestrated by the GMSA to embarrass the President. Beyond that, the protesters put in danger a serving minister of the government. Freedom of choice and freedom of expression and freedom of association goes both ways. The freedom to protest and the freedom to persons against whom we protest that enter into public spaces to give speeches and to continue their work. So in our view, the party's view, it was clearly orchestrated to embarrass the President and to create a platform for the PPP to further embarrass this government.
So do you endorse that it's hooliganism?
Yes, the party's position that they behaved like hooligans. They conducted themselves like hooligans outside of the event. Have I answered all your
No,
questions?
final question. The CCJ said that GYSM is not in a normal election year. However, the commissioners, particularly the government's nominated commissioners, insisted on household registration and other procedures which are required in a normal election cycle. So given that the CCJ said that the GYSM is not in a normal election cycle, and the insistence by government-elected nominees that we take actions required in a normal election cycle, how do you reconcile the statement that the President is indeed acting constitutional, or that elections in accordance with the nomination, the requirements are constitutional?
Let me answer it in this way. This is the party's position. First, the President is acting lawfully and constitutionally. The government is constitutional and has been acting constitutionally. The party has followed all the decisions of the CCJ. That's our position. We have litigated this matter right up to the CCJ, and we have followed all the decisions of the CCJ. So the party is in compliance with all CCJ decisions.
Shanti Samuels from NCN. Referring to a statement that you just made that the events that took place yesterday with the protest action was orchestrated by the GMSA, just to clarify, that's what you're saying. When we spoke to the president of the GMSA, he was unaware, well, he indicated to us that he's unaware that such action would have been taking place at the event. So in order for you to say that, do you have any proof to substantiate your statement?
Well, the proof is in the evidence of what occurred. If the GMSA is holding an event where His Excellency the President will be attending, one would think that the GMSA will also contact the security services and security forces. One would think the GMSA will ensure that there is safety and safe passage for persons who are coming in. One would think the GMSA will anticipate protesting and therefore seek to ensure the safety and security of the officials who are coming to the event. So in our opinion, in our view of the party, GMSA foisted this event upon the President so that he can be embarrassed, and his minister who was also there. We see no evidence of the GMSA to the contrary, because the evidence is clear in what occurred. The GMSA was meant to contact and be in contact with the security forces to ensure that what occurred did not occur. So it's difficult for the party to believe that GMSA had nothing to do with it.
All right, and then my other question is on the Commingsburg Accord. I don't know if you're in a position to, there was a recent meeting to discuss the review of the Commingsburg Accord. Are you in a position to state what were some of the proposals put forward by the party in going forward with the review process?
Even though it's outside the remit, I'd say that the party is in active discussion with coalition. The APNU rather is in active discussion with our coalition party, the AFC, to hammer out all the details for the accord. There are 10 core principles that the coalition partners have agreed to, and the APNU is working with its coalition party to ensure that what comes out of the accord rests on the foundation of those 10 principles. In relation to details, I can't give any details as yet.
Sir, Attorney Granger Standard. Admiral, we've seen a lot of comments on social media with regards to the police mobilizing at that protest action yesterday. I think some coalition supporters believe that the police should have done a better job in trying to protect the president. I think some of them are of the view that the president's well-being might be being compromised or could have been compromised. What is the party's position on that?
Well, that is an interesting question, because we're balancing between police action and citizen ability to protest.
Right.
So now that the police has allowed the citizens to protest unhindered, it appears as though the Ghana police force did not act in a professional manner. The party would like to come down on the side of the police force and commend the police force for its tolerance yesterday. But that does not mean that a presidential candidate should really be in the face of the police and try to block vehicles and actually challenge police officers to move him or to move them. I think that was stretching the opportunity to protest too far. But I think the party would like to commend the police force for the way it acted yesterday.
Also, the leader of the opposition has indicated his party's position or willingness to probably follow the president around wherever he goes and to protest and stuff like that. Can we expect a counter-protest action from the PNCR?
But the party is not in the habit of displaying all its tactics and strategies in the public domain. But the party will seek to ensure that the president is well protected, its president and the nation's president is protected. The party will seek to ensure that citizens are able to protest, but not to the extent of preventing government and officials from going to their public places to deal with the businesses of managing the state.
Also, the GCOM has already indicated its readiness for polls next year, February. The government is acting or is currently existing without its legal footing. What are some of the ramifications? Can the government afford to go into next year without its legal power, knowing that next year we're going to have first oil and then by then we'll be due for a national budget? What are some of the options on the table?
Well, firstly, the government is on a legal footing. The government is not illegal. That's the first thing I'd like to say.
The legal authority from the no confidence motion, I think the president had acknowledged that we are operating on a different footing.
No, the government is legal and constitutional, and His Excellency has said that the cabinet and government are functioning with reduced powers. Ministers are not traveling before, no treaties will be signed. So he has accorded his government to the term that was used, that is in a caretaker mode. Having said that, the country still has to be managed. Having said that, the president will announce a date for general elections. Having said that, the president, as the head of state, will ensure that the country continues to be managed. And the citizens will be expecting services to be delivered and continue to be delivered by them. So we cannot not have a government and not have a president. And the Article 106 is very clear that the president remains in office until another president is elected.
Thank you. Samuel Sultan, Lokspan 24/7 News. Mr. Best, would the PNCR support an early announcement of the election date, now that a time frame has been given by the GCOM chair?
Well, I think it's a very good question. That time frame was given yesterday. We're now today. So the party expects an announcement from the president imminently on when elections will be held. And I say imminently on when elections will be held.
Guidance critic. Firstly, will the government be reaching out to the ABC countries to clarify on their statement in light of the fact that, because in your statement I didn't hear anything about the ABC country statement, or I missed it. But
They can respond immediately to that.
Okay, will there...
The president has addressed that. He addressed it in these terms. I am not acting unlawfully. My government is not unconstitutional, and I have acted constitutionally throughout. That was the president's response, immediate response to the statement. It is unfortunate in many ways, the statement, because it created some anxiety in the nation state. But we're not taking from the statement that the ABC countries intended to suggest that the work of the commission, of the Elections Commission, was not properly done. We're not taking that as a positive of the statement. And the president has responded to the second paragraph or third paragraph of the statement, which said the government has been unconstitutional. And he has said that his government is constitutional and he has not acted unconstitutionally.
In light of the fact of the confusion that you recognize it created, will the government be seeking clarification from the ABC countries for what they mean, what they meant?
I believe it may be prudent to say that a party, as a party, the party will seek to address and look at every opportunity it can to clarify any doubt that will come from any statement. There are some doubts in the statement. I say the president has already responded in one way, and the government itself, I believe, may very well seek to clarify what may have been said in the statement. Because if you look at it carefully, there were 4 paragraphs, and they don't mesh with each other. Having said that, the commending the Elections Commission to setting a date of February 2020, then it's difficult to see how the government can be seen to be illegal after September 18th, when such a date was never ever given by the CCG. So yes, I believe that there may be some clarification sought, but the president has spoken in the matter already by saying his government is not unconstitutional and he has not acted unconstitutionally as a first response.
Secondly, in the event of an issue like this, which is of national interest, that comes up against a coalition government, don't you think it would have been wise to have all parties involved having a press conference to show a form of togetherness? Like the fact that you also have the Commons-Burger Accord being revised and all those things, to show strength and unity. Don't you think it would have been wise to have a press conference where everybody who was involved in this matter present?
When you say would have been wise, I don't want to accept would have been wise. I would say it would be wise. This is the PNCR's press conference. And going beyond this, there will be other press conferences. I'm sure the coalition will hold a press conference. So this is not a press conference for the coalition. So would have been wise is not appropriate. This is the press conference of PNCR. And therefore, in my humble opinion, I see other press conferences, statements being made in relation to this issue.
one final question, sir. In both in the CCJ judgment and in the Constitution, Article 1066, it is stated that upon the successful passage of the no-confidence motion, the President and government resigns, notwithstanding the resignation, etc., which I'm sure you're well aware of. The government has said that it is on a different footing. However, the Constitution and the CCJ required a resignation, and then you continue as a caretaker. Has there been that resignation, and does the President intend and Cabinet intend to resign as is procedurally required and then continue in that vein as a caretaker?
I think you're asking me the same question in a different manner. What you're expressing is your personal view and interpretation of the Constitution, or other views and interpretation of the Constitution. What I would say is that the CCJ has ruled in this matter already.
The CCJ says notwithstanding the resignation.
Well, that's what I'm saying, young man. If you're going to be arguing what the CCJ said, then we won't make any much progress. That's what I said. You're bringing an interpretation of your understanding of the Constitution, what the CCJ said.
I'm saying to you, express words, sir. The CCJ, both the CCJ and the Constitution says you resign, notwithstanding the resignation. So this is not an interpretation. This is not an interpretation. This is an express statement of what both the CCJ said and what the Constitution said. So I'm not bringing my interpretation. So, in light of the fact that it was said notwithstanding the resignation, is there an intention to resign and then continue as caretaker?
You will ask me the same thing again in a different manner. The CCJ has pronounced on this matter. Right up, we went right into the CCJ. If you look at 106, 6 and 167, it talks about the no confidence vote, it talks about the President of the Cabinet shall resign, and it goes on to say that notwithstanding the government shall remain in office until a new president is elected. And that was the interpretation, and that was the discussion between the various political parties. The CCJ has pronounced on that. It said the constitutional actors must make decisions in relation to this matter. And the most important constitutional actor of recent to have made the decisions, the chairman of GYSM, by setting a timeline for when elections can be held. So I don't think it would be fruitful for us to be going into the different nitty-gritty of the CCJ decision, because we've gone past that, and we now have a chairman who is now determined that elections can be held by 2020. But let me also ask you to look at Article 50 of the Constitution, which says that the supreme organs of power are Parliament, President, and Cabinet in that order. So you can't look at the Constitution, look at one article in the Constitution. You have to look at it as a whole, and what it intends to be. But we've litigated that matter right up to the CCJ. And now we're acting on the CCJ's decision, and the government remains lawful. The President is acting lawfully. GYSM has set a date for elections, not a date, a time frame for when it's ready for election by February 2020. And the next stage is the President issuing a date for elections. But I think that sequence is the sequence the Guyanese population wanted to hear. And I think they're more confident now that we have a time frame within which elections can be held.
Yes, Chief.
Sorry, before we go,
Yes. In light of the fact of what can be called the predicament, the number of legal predicaments this government has found itself in, as you said, election date is imminent. Will the PNCR reform be going forward into the next election with the Attorney General in the same position?
That's a very unfair question for this press conference. That is not the, that is a call of His Excellency. That's a call of His Excellency. And I just want to say, critic, as an executive member of the PNCR, I will object to the imputation that predicament had anything to do with the Attorney General. His discharge, his duties.
No, I said legal predicaments.
Legal predicament, yes. So I'm responding to that sense, that the imputation is that this legal predicament has to do with the Attorney General, because you asked if if the government will stick with the party. I'm saying to you, I reject that. He's functioned professionally throughout, based with the information he had, and I think he's distinguished himself competently as a member of the People's National Congress and as the Attorney General.
Are there any other questions at this time? All right, ladies and gentlemen of the media, it was indeed a pleasure having you here today, and we thank you for fielding the questions. We do look forward to seeing you next Friday for another press conference of the People's National Congress Reform. Thank you once again.